It's time for Push to Play, your weekly trophy podcast with Mindi and CJ.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, listeners. Whatever time it may be, whatever day it may be where you are at present, I hope it is wonderful. Welcome to episode 32 of Push to Plat. A little bit of a special episode, I suppose you could say, listeners. We've had a little bit of trouble this week just getting everyone's schedule in order on the internet and blah, blah, all the usual yada, yada sort of stuff. We're actually midway through recording this morning an interview with a wonderful guest, which we should finish up in the next day or two, and we'll have out to you next week. But I didn't want to leave you with nothing this week, so I thought, why not just do it myself? So now, listeners, you've got to ask yourself a serious question. Can you handle listening to CJ for the next 40 minutes, hour maybe? Or is now the time to back away slowly, run screaming, or exit the room in whichever method you find most appropriate here? Look, I don't know how this will go. You know, one-man show just for today, special time, who knows, whatever. We will see. But look, there are a few things I thought I could take the opportunity today to sort of bend your ear to, if you'll allow me. So why don't we set off on this voyage and see what happens? So look, I thought I'd start off with just saying, wow, what another amazing week for games. It is crazy. I'm looking forward to sharing some of the stuff I've been playing this week. And look, maybe, even hearing from you in the next week or two about some of the stuff that you've been playing, listeners. There are some great short games, some great medium games, some amazing long games coming out. We have new RPGs, we have spam. Look, we have everything at the moment. So if you can't find something to play, well then go to the Switch, because the Goose Game, why not? It is fantastic. Look, is it only me that is enjoying that Goose Game? I think I don't know what it is, listeners. I really hope this thing comes to the PS4, because it's as anyone who knows me knows, I'm not a massive fan of stealth games, but for some reason, being a stealth game with a goose, it makes all the difference to me. Whether it be stealing the hat or setting up the picnic or opening the door or whatever else, it's just cute, And we've talked about in the past the music and stuff. It's just lovely. So look, it may happen, and I see this week that we're getting the return of the Opera Din is being ported to the PS4. We're getting the Outer Worlds. No, the Outer Wilds. This is a confusing one, listeners, because we, of course, got the Outer Worlds coming up, but the Outer Wilds, is coming across, for some reason, finally, from the Xbox. I don't know why it's taken this long. It is a great game, a time loop sort of game. It looked perfect for me, because each sort of playthrough lasts around half an hour max, depending on what you're doing, or your state of inebriation, I suppose, at the time. But look, it's a great game, and it is coming up. So there is plenty to talk about. I'm not sure if I'm convincing myself now or you, but look, I don't know. Well, we shall see. We shall see. So I thought we'll just follow like a similar format or whatever. I'll do, what I've been playing. A bit of new releases. I do have a little bit of a mini topic that it just came in actually overnight, and I thought what we'll do is, because it's a bit of a sensitive topic, so it's a bit of a tough topic to maybe ask a guest to talk about. So I thought I'd do my version today of it. Mindi may like to do, or may choose to do her version later on. And look, if this is a topic that you feel like you would like to talk about, then by all means, please do. But look, we'll get to that a little bit later in the episode. So look, why don't we just start with, why we're all here? Why don't we just start with some gaming? Yeah. So let's have a look at what I've been playing this week. Now that's always a scary thought, listeners. But look, I can throw a couple of good things at you. Now, unfortunately, I cannot throw much knowledge about this Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Well, other than what I've read, which is not good. Everybody and their dog everybody and their dog and cat seems to be crapping on this game. So look, I don't know. I really enjoyed the Tom Clancy Ghost Recon The Wildlands. Yeah, I played it at close to launch. I understand now it's a completely different game. They put so much more content into it. If you haven't played it, listeners, it's your typical, shooting, whatever. It's open world. It is a massive map. Yeah. Now, look, I will fully admit that I played this game in co-op, so I didn't get a grasp really of the story because people always talk when you're playing in co-op in chat. So, that's on me or whatever. But look, the story looked okay or whatever else. So I played maybe like an hour of this game. I played a little bit in the beta, and then I decided just to jump in because, if you're gonna do something, you might as well just jump in the whole way, right? And so I probably only played 40 minutes or so of the actual game. Look, I don't know yet. It's obviously going to be a bit of a looter shooter, gear score, gear 'em up type extravaganza. It's interests me though because I thought it would be a solely co-op sort of game, or maybe more suited to co-op, which of course it is. But from what I've played so far, it can definitely be played in single player. Now, look, I don't know about the trophies. Who cares? Whatever. Plat will be massively long, I'm sure. At the time of recording, nobody even has the plat yet. So look, who knows? Possibly because of the raid, actually. But we're getting sidetracked already. Do I like it or not? Look, I don't know. Yeah, I've been looking for a shooter. I sort of fell into Control, and I think now that I've come out of Control, maybe I don't need another one at this point in time, or maybe I don't need another one on an open world map. Yeah, look, if you're interested in this game, obviously you should tread very carefully from what has been written, but I don't know that it's as bad as people are going on about. I think maybe this element of let's shit on Ubi here, and this game. Yeah, of course there's microtransactions. So what? You would expect that in a game like this. You don't have to buy them. That's your choice. But look, it is what it is. I will play more of it over the coming months, and we can dive into that a little bit deeper. But let's go with something I finished. Yes, I'll leave that for a moment. Finished. What a strange word. And look, the game I'd like to talk about next is Control. So this is a game I started on release, like most things or whatever else, and then just put it aside. And then I came back to it partly on the urging of the PG spoiler cast. And they, so they reached out to us, we do a bit of work with them in the past, Resident Daryl and Basehead X, and they said, let's do a spoiler on Control. And I was like, oh, what an intriguing idea. And this was a while ago. In fact, there were a couple of games, but Control was one of them. And I thought, what a fantastic idea. Of course, I didn't think at the time that it would require me to finish the game. Obvious, I suppose, to your listeners, but at the time, perhaps not so obvious to me. So anyway, I managed to finish it with 2 days, sort of in 2 days, I suppose you could say, just before we recorded. And look, what a great way to play this game in 2 days. It consists of 10 missions, some side missions, whatever. And it could probably, like we talked about it in the thing, and I was like, I wish I could have played this in 1 day. Obviously, my concentration span would not have allowed that, but it's got that feel to it. So, the missions range from, maybe half an hour to an hour-ish in that sort of range. And as I said, there's 10 of them, so it would be achievable. Maybe some of the latter ones take a little bit longer as you upgrading and all this other stuff that you tend to muck around with. And so it's definitely manageable. But the reason I say that I'd like to play it in 1 day is that there is a lot of variation in the missions, which sort of surprised me. There's a lot of depth in it, but it's just absurdly abstract. And listeners, me, I love a good abstraction. Further from reality, further from making sense, I suppose, the better sometimes. And look, this game, it will not disappoint you. But as I said, we did do a spoiler cast, so I don't really want to go into it because if it does interest you, you can do that. And if you finished it, you can come and listen and agree or disagree with what we say. That's totally cool. But if you're on the fence on this game, and I know I'm generally positive about a lot of games, but if you're on the fence about this game, I would definitely recommend giving it a look. If you break the game into two halves, the gameplay and the story is in a fantastic abstraction. Yeah, it's one of those games you can, and obviously it does a disservice to it, but you could play the game, not read the collectibles, and that would be fine. The story becomes vaguer and vaguer to you, but you could read a summary or whatever else. It would make enough sense. And to be honest, towards the end, because there are a lot of collectibles, towards the end, that is what I did. Or you could engage with it, and there's it's very interesting if you do choose to. But if you don't, the gameplay I think holds up enough for that to be the sole reason, if you like, of playing it. Now, it does start off a bit slow, I think, because you don't get all the abilities at the start. By mission 3, you have the main ones sort of unlocked or whatever. Your guns, they're only 4. So, it's unusual. There's an looter shooter element here, if you like. So there's 4 or whatever. So you do get used to using them. And I think that familiarity with it's sort of nice. I won't go as far as to say mastery, because I don't master anything, but it definitely, you gravitates, towards whichever of your favorite. And you sort of, I think, knowing early on that you only have these, it makes you sort of adjust your play style, knowing that you're not going to get some overpowered weapon later on that will carry you through the game, if you like. So on the gameplay, it reminds me a lot of Dead Space. Now, look, I understand it's not in a spaceship, and outer space or whatever, but it's got that vibe. It's a tense game. The things are flying at you. The sound design is fantastic. A mix of sort of percussion, rim hits, on the side, the old tin cans being kicked. Like thinking of the original Tomb Raider score here for a second, but it's this great atmospheric, I don't want to say horror, but at times it did feel like horror to me. It felt very, very tense, a very tense game. So I think the gameplay side is fantastic. On the side content or side quests, if you like, they do work very seamlessly into the game, but they're not required. For the plot, obviously they are, but if you just want to play the game itself, you could choose to partake in them or not. The great thing at the end of the story is that the whole game opens up, so you can continue, you can mop up anything that you've missed as you go. One of the really cool things about this game too is that the optional boss fights, again, you'd need them for trophies, but you don't need to take them on at the end of missions. Again, they can be taken on at the end of the game or whenever you sort of like. And I really like that. And I think, I said on the spoiler cast that the game was quite easy. At that point, I had finished all of it except 2 optional boss fights. One of the optional boss fights against a giant mole thing was great. It was a close combat sort of a fight. The other fight, though, against this Tomasi guy, not so great. It's I found it particularly very, very tough fight. So look, I don't, I'll give you a minor spoiler. Just block your ears for 10 seconds if you don't want it. But I did need to use a cheese method to get past that fight of going up to the top of the hangar and sort of basically hanging out on a walkway, because it's tough. You get the invisible guys spawning in and everything else. And, I've read other people find that challenging. So perhaps on this case, it is not just me. And look, while it's fresh in my mind, I sort of dressed the trophy list. Very straightforward trophy list, except for maybe that one optional boss, all story related. There are a stack of collectibles, hundreds and hundreds, but you only need to get 120 of them. You will definitely get that naturally. So there's no guide required at all, which is nice. In fact, no guide required for this game at all, I would say. On the negative side of this game would definitely be the map. Please, 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 please do not design a vertical game with a 2-dimensional map. It is really, really confusing. Obviously, one of the powers of this game, which is no spoiler, is levitation. So you can transverse or fly up, multiple levels. When you're trying to look at it on a 2D map, it's really difficult to know where you are when everything's overlaid on which level it is and stuff. So look, that's a minor gripe. That could just be me, though. And the amusing thing here, because Mindi isn't here, I suppose I have to mention it, but it has Metroidvania elements. So perhaps that is why I had an issue with it. But look, no Mega Man. Well, look, there might be a Mega Man somewhere hidden in there, but I did not come across it yet. So look, as I said, I'm very positive about a lot of games, but I don't finish a lot. This is one that I have finished and will plat. I'm almost there, and I would definitely recommend it. So look, what else can I throw out? We've been playing a bit of this Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch remaster. Fantastic. But then again, I've never played the first one. I did play Ni no Kuni 2. I did plat it. I did not do all the DLC because some of that was obnoxious in its sort of repetition and grindiness. But look, I enjoyed too. I really like coming back to this one now, having not played it, and see where it all started. Obviously, the stories are different. They're freestanding games, but the systems, you can see how they developed or whatever else. I do like certain things in the first one. Surprisingly to me, I do like the Pokemon-esque collection of this game, where you go around collecting the familiars. That's something that normally would frustrate the fuck out of me, but not this time. I am sort of enjoying it. But look, after I've got 100 of them, we will see if I'm still enjoying it. I like that again. It's easy, but it's also got that edge that if you don't level up enough, it can be very difficult. But then, like a typical JRPG, you can over level, so you can make it as easy as you want. Yeah, it's just like, I don't want to say a kiddies game, but it's just a beautiful game. It looks beautiful. The painted, sort of Ghibli art style that if you played these games, you're very familiar with. It's just beautiful, and it's nice and relaxing. I was enjoying it while I was playing Control. It sort of it really balanced it out for me. So look, that is going to be a massive game and grind anyway. But as I said, if you haven't played these games and you want to sort of set out 100 hours, I think it's nice. I don't think it's an overly complicated JRPG. The systems are very contained within themselves, and being a totally single player experience, of course, you can take your time and whatever else. So listeners, it's time. Mindi is not here. I have the floor. It is time to tell you about the obsession that is Shadowbringers, Final Fantasy XIV. Wow, what an expansion! I mean, we're thinking Monster Hunter World now with these massive expansions, these Iceborne. I mean, this is clearly in the same. This could be a standalone game. Depending on where you are in the story, it is a standalone game. But look, it is fantastic. Now, obviously, the drawback is that if you have never played the game, it's going to take you 500 plus hours probably to get to this point. But I suppose you could buy a skip if that. Why would you skip an MMO? I could skip a VN, but an MMO? Look, I don't know. Well, look, I suppose if that interests you, you could skip it. It probably costs twice as much as actually buying the game does, but that is an option if you just want to jump in leveled up to the current new content. But look, it's great. I want to say around 60 to 80 missions. Main MSQ missions or main story quests, if you like. I mean, as you can imagine, tons of side stuff. It starts off slow in the form of dungeons and trials. Most of them come in the middle and then towards the end, but it has a nice arc to it. Obviously, the amnesia element that we all know and love in JRPGs is present there. It's done cleverly that it's a world. Obviously, they need new areas, so it's a world off the main map in a sort of an alternate sort of, I don't want to say timeline, but like a paradoxical sort of time shift or whatever else that's running concurrently with the other world. But luckily the time passes much quicker there, so a minute in the other world is like a year in this world. So look at that. It's just so you don't get out of sync, I suppose, with the main map if you really care about the lore that much. But if you set aside the normal tropes or whatever, it sets up a grand quest, if you like, in this expansion where you have to take the light back. The world is covered in light. Now there is no night anymore. And so you set out on a quest to bring down the light wardens that hold the light and consume it yourself, because of course you were the warrior of light, but listeners, there's a twist now. Now you are the warrior of darkness, bringing the dark to the world. But look, can you contain all that light yourself or not? Look, I can't tell you that. Well, I could tell you, but I don't want to. I want you to spend the 800 hours it's going to take you to find out. But look, if you can't, I suppose you could cheat and skip or watch it on YouTube. But jokes aside, it is really, obviously you'd have to be inclined towards these sort of games. But if you are, it's a fantastic story for an expansion or whatever else. So I finished the bulk of the story. I sort of pushed through a lot in the last 2 days. One of the great things, obviously, being an MMO is that there is, level gating on the quests. Unfortunately, like there was in the base game, the quests dry up in the last 2 levels. So you want to just keep keep on the upper end of each level gate each time. But look, the wonderful thing is they run these leveling dungeons, which look, after the amount of time I put into it, you think I would understand how that works, but I don't. I still don't. And for some reason, if you're lucky into the right sort of dungeons, you can get like a 7 or 8 million XP boost at the end of those dungeons. So look, I don't know how that happens, but I'm more than happy to take it, listeners. You're looking at around, in those last couple of levels, just to give you an idea, if you're not familiar with the game, you're looking at around 35 to 37 million, and you're only getting 8 sort of MSQ quests, giving you maybe 700,000 XP. So, you can see there is a bit of a gap. So without these leveling dungeons, it would be quite a grind to get there. Of course, you can only do this with the bonus kick once a day. So, look, if you are going to start this game, biggest tip I can give you, other than find a great free company, is to start on the daily roulettes as soon as possible. I mean, there is probably no better time to jump in now because the level cap's at 80. So if you start off, you're not going to run into the walls that we ran into at 60 and 70, where in effect you're still playing the game but earning no XP. And then later on they up the cap, and of course everything you've done in that in between zone doesn't count, which it is what it is, and they've said they're going to continue to support it. So look, I'm down to the last bit. Unfortunately, as in an MMO, what a surprise! I'm now 4 quests away from the end, but I've run into this dude who now requires me to have completed a role quest, which I vaguely remember something about at the start of the game, warning you the expansion you needed to finish a role quest to move forward, but I just ignored it because, look, why not? I'm here for the main story, not the role quest. And of course, now he will not let me proceed until I do the role quest. So, look, I don't know how much longer that's going to add, but days, months, perhaps. We shall see. But I don't think it's too bad. And of course, look, because I should have been doing it all along, I'm way over leveled now. So that's great. So look at that. I finally snuck in. Listeners, I finally snuck in some Final Fantasy XIV talk. Yeah. At this point now, Mindi would have necked herself. It would have been just I can't even imagine. But look, I've got it in there, And look, if she does listen this far in, and I think it's safe to say that she won't, but if she does, I finally got it in. Mindi, you're safe. You don't need to worry anymore. See, it worked for everybody. So I'm sure listeners at this point, you're like, yeah, great. So he's talked about Control, does or doesn't interest me. He's talked about Ghost Recon, definitely doesn't interest me. It's supposed to be a massive flop. And he's talked about an MMO. This is a trophy podcast, clearly. So let me throw in some love for some of the games that have come out in the last few days. And I wasn't joking here about a huge number of games coming out to the system this week. So let's start with Grid. So Grid will be available roughly at the time of release, or if you pre-ordered it with the Ultimate blah 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 edition, look at me, yay, you will have it now. So look, you might be familiar with the Grid, the old Grid games on PS3 or whatever else. It's an interesting series. This is an interesting racing game. No online trophies. That's right. You do not need to drive around the track in 20 races, boosting it to win for no reason. You don't have to create an insane amount of XP in the online mode. Yeah, there's no safe driving rating in this game online. It's refreshing. But, like all racing games, there is an absurd trophy. I'm just looking down the list here, and it's got to do with you have to drive the equivalent of, here we go, around the globe. Look, at least it's a gold trophy, I suppose. Around the globe. Drive a total distance equal to the circumference of the Earth. Now, they're not lying about that either. Yeah, that's not relative in game or some sort of, amazing hyper-dimensional loop thing where you're doing thousands of kilometers an hour. They're deadly serious about that. So, and that's a gold trophy. You could do that, or you could do a rat game. Gold trophy. It's the same. They're both gold trophies, I suppose. But look, don't let that stop you, because it's gonna stop almost everybody from getting the plat unless they do something with that. I read actually somebody wrote, I think maybe Macca had done the maths on it, and it was going to be something like he felt perhaps as much as a 400-hour grind just for that trophy or not. So look, I don't know if that's true, but I can tell you I won't be doing that. But look, let's take a sidebar, listeners. Actually. If it's a one-person show, do you even need to take a sidebar? I mean, I can do whatever I want, I suppose. So, well, we'll take a sidebar either way. One of the things I noticed in this game is that there is no tracker on that distance. So, look, your guess is as good as anybody's when you're going to hit that. If you ever do, probably in your late 70s or 80s, I imagine, if you start now. But it is what it is. But look, the Xbox. Sorry, the Xbox. Yes, Xbox, Microsoft, sorry. The Xbox, as those of us, evolved gamers know that play on multiple systems, it has this wonderful feature where it tracks the percentage completion of your trophies. So they can actually see what percentage they're up to. So look, What an interesting idea, Sony. I don't know. I hear there's a PS5 coming soon. I hear you're putting a Blu-ray, a 4K Blu-ray player in it. Interesting, interesting. That's a very original idea. I'm glad you cottoned onto that. The Pro. So maybe in the future you can put that trophy tracking for trophies like this. Or look, maybe Codemasters, you can start to realize that people have a finite amount of time and years in their life, and trophies that require you to drive the circumference of the Earth, they may not be that much fun. But look, I think I've shit on that trophy enough. Aside from that, the gameplay's similar to Codemaster games. Obviously, if you're familiar with it, I will say the graphically it's good. Again, I suppose we have to compare these games to Forza, and again, unfortunately, I can say, and I have put a few hours into it now, that it does not compare with Forza. But again, it sits in between the two. Obviously, it's not a simulation like straight Forza, but it's also not an open world, fun fest like Horizon either. So it's arcadey in its sense. It does have an easier, medium, and a hard mode. So on easy, the game is very easy. On medium, the game is not difficult. I'm not sure hard, but you can do whatever you want. There are no difficulty related trophies for what level you play on. There is reach player level 50, but that's going to happen naturally because there are a stack of events. It runs, I think, something like, from memory here, I'm going to say 8 to 10 different series. Each series consists of 13 events. Some of the events have 1 or 2 rounds. It looks like there's only the standard race events and the time trials at this stage. So maybe we'll get point to point on some other, other things like that later on, or overtakes or whatever, similar to what they've done in some of their other games, just to freshen it up or whatever. Massive car library and car choice for the thing, and some great tracks as well. Yeah, I didn't look this up. I meant to, listeners, but I have a feeling potentially as some licensed tracks as well in the mix here. In fact, I even did a track here in Sydney last night, so on it. So look, it's good in that aspect. My only hesitation in this game, obviously, if you're a racing enthusiast, you'll be on it, is that I still find it difficult to recommend any racing game over Forza. But Forza is not on PlayStation. So, with that aside, one of the things, if you do look at this game, and again, we don't know if the DLC will have trophies, but Ride 3 started this procedure of the season passes coming with trophies, so there's a high chance this may follow suit as well. If you do buy the season pass, it's going to add in effect 99 more races. So you might be thinking, wow, that's the last thing I need, 99 more race events or whatever. But look, if you're serious about getting that circumference trophy, you're probably going to need all the events you can to shave off, stave off the noose and boredom, I imagine. But, that's something to consider. It also comes with extra cars. The season pass, the way they're selling the Ultimate Edition, seems to be potentially, 2/3 of the value of the game. So that's a consideration, potentially as well. I'm sure it will come down in track. But if, again, it follows the format of Ride that Milestone took up, then you can expect that content to come once it starts fairly quickly as well. So look, for me, I love the little additions there, but I know it's not for everyone, and we're not sure if there's trophies yet, so I don't know whether you have to decide. I mean, there's so many things to buy. Who knows? Look, next, what have we got next? Trine 4, the Nightmare Prince. Now, are you like me, living in a bubble and had no idea there were more Trine games coming? Did you take the easy plat in Trine on PS3? I hope you did. Did you struggle through Trine 2, the hard mode? Or did you get carried like I did? I don't know. One of those two things might have happened there. Did you stumble into Trine 3 and go, what is going on? A 3D platformer? Why is this different? Why did they do this? Why is there a hub world now of sorts? But look, and then Trine 4, you're thinking, well, what's going on? Well, I can assure you, it's a mold of all of them. It's gone back to its roots. Yeah, it's a 2.5D platformer. It is gorgeous. It's beautiful. The music, like all of them, is fantastic. Did I say it's beautiful? The blues, they're just so. I love blue anyway, but it's just so blue. It's just wonderful. All the abilities are the same or whatever. It's an interesting trophy list this time. If you're familiar with the games, you'll understand that half the trophies, whatever, come from completing the levels. I think there's 18. And, then, another half, or I think we're going to have too many halves here, listeners. I just realized, but let's just stick with it. Another half is for collecting all the orbs in it. And then the final half is for miscellaneous. So, yes, there's 3 halves to this game. What a great deal. How can you not buy it now, I suppose? But yeah, look, one of the great things is now that they've removed the hardcore mode, I suppose that depends whether you think that's great or not. For me, that's fantastic. So you can, in effect, play the whole game on easy. Look, I don't know how hard the latter levels will be, but the first 5 or 6 that I've done, there's nothing strenuous, particularly if you've played the games before. Of course, there's a hint there that you can set at 2, I think 3 or 6 minutes or something if you get stuck, and there's no penalty for that. So look, I'm looking forward to putting more time into that game. At time of recording, it was only available on the US store. So look, I don't know. It came in at 30 US, which seems a little much for me, I think, but it is what it is. So you'll have to decide. Now, listeners, I know you're like, when will he stop? What is going on? But look, I'm not going to stop. You had your chance to get out. You had your chance to get out months ago. If you're still here, you're either a masochist or you find some merit here. I don't know. Maybe you're both. I don't know. So the next game, now this is very interesting. Indivisible. Now, I didn't know anything about this game when I got it, which of course never stops me. It is published by 505 Games. The developer is Lab Zero Games. I understand it's a crowd-funded game, and it made its crowd funding. In fact, I understand there's a trophy here called Funded, a silver trophy. Silver funded, which pays homage to the backers, and it says here deal a total of 2,216,972 damage or more. So I'm assuming, probably should have researched this, I'm assuming that is the money they took in from their Kickstarter campaign to fund the game. So isn't that lovely? But look, so knowing nothing about this game, I thought perhaps it was some sort of combat VN. Combat VN. That's the genre we need, combat VN with a skip button. So look, anyway, this is as anime as fuck. You're not, if you don't like anime, you just might as well leave your ticket here and walk out now, because you're not going to like this game. But if you like anime, I think you're going to like it. It starts off. It's all voiced, which is fantastic, as well, voiced in English. The animation is good. It's, to be honest with you, and I'm not joking when I say it's anime as fuck, it's probably too anime for me. But, we'll persist for at least another 10 minutes of playtime and see what I think, into the future. I don't know the trophy list, what it's going to be like, to be honest with you. The game is new or whatever else. It is an RPG with VN elements. A lot of cutscenes, as I said, voiced. Look, you can skip them if you so wish. Why not? I don't care. You wouldn't know the story, but that is your prerogative, of course. But the dialogue, if you do choose to stick around for the story, the dialogue is great. It's unexpected. So, obviously you turn these games, you're like, oh, here we go, another anime trash fire or whatever else, and we'll see what happens. We'll hit some people and it'll be a great time. But straight away out of the box, the dialogue is very punchy or whatever else. I mean, you literally go to the tutorial in the opening area. You play as a female character to start with, and your father is training you, and the first thing he does is slap you across the face because you're late. And then you try to sort of backchat him or whatever, he slaps you again. So it's not often in a tutorial that you just get slapped repeatedly or whatever else. There are some very funny one-liners that come out of that unexpectedly, I suppose, if you like. So it is a turn-based combat of sorts, if you like. I still didn't quite figure it out. It's either incredibly easy or incredibly deep. I'm leading towards the incredibly easy at this stage, but look, maybe the depth is hidden in there somewhere, and you can rotate your party members. This comes in at around a 3/4 price game. I don't think it's very well known, but I think for the people that know about this game, it's very passionate. I mean, if you're prepared to take a leap of faith on this game, I think it's really good. As I said, I don't know how difficult the plat would be. I should preface that I say it's really good. I think it's really funny. The dialogue and the gameplay is good. But as I said, it's as anime as all get out. So if that's an issue for you, then, as I said, check your ticket at the door. And look, finally wrapping it up, the last one, and I don't want to talk too much on this one because I will finish it in the next day or two, so I can talk to it more next time, is the Concrete Genie. So, Sony exclusive Concrete Genie has been in the works for some time. I know there's a little controversy with this game for some trophy hunters because it does come with 3 trophy DLC that require you to have a VR. I understand if you have a VR, it's very simple. I also understand if you have a VR, it's very good. The base game can be played without VR. In fact, the base game has to be played without VR. So, if you don't have VR and you live with not getting the 3 bronze trophies until you do, or whenever, then you can experience the whole game. So something to consider. again, I did no research before I bought this game, or very little, other than that I knew the name and that it was coming out, or whatever. It's not exactly what I expected. Uh, it it's slow at the start. It's a game I think pitched for everybody, but I think it's a game that not everybody will enjoy because of the gameplay and the general flow of the game. I think it would be a great game for kids and family. It deals with sort of bullying and stuff like that. The mechanics are fairly simple. The concept, if you're not familiar with it, is that you paint certain things and you have these genies or whatever that are on the wall that you discover, and they're basically moving characters or moving paintings. You do get some freedom in designing them, how they look. There are presets, you can give them different heads and bodies as you find them, but I sort of, because, if a system's in there, you might as well fuck with it. So I decided to make one looking as strange as I could, and it still warps it into a figure that doesn't look dissimilar to what I created, but not exactly. So obviously that, it's motion animation. So obviously they can't let you just do whatever you want. They have to animate it from there, but it loosely looked like what I did, and obviously straps into a thing. But, look, that aside, it's a very beautiful game. It's sort of like a movie game, I suppose, or whatever else. It seems like I've done the first 3 chapters. It seems like the first part of the game is going to be, perhaps the whole game is going to be in this sort of semi-open world, but very small area, if you like, very, very small or whatever. The map is fine or whatever else. It's just, I think it's one of those games, because it's so small, you would get to know where everything is, so you wouldn't necessarily need the map or whatever. It's very linear, having said that it's sort of open world. Like, yes, you can run around everywhere, but a lot of it's gated off, obviously. As you progress through the story, it opens up or whatever else. I understand there are no missables, because you can replay, and I understand it's about 5 or 6 hours as well. So look, it's an experience or whatever else. I'm not 100% sure what price that one comes in at, but maybe if you're looking for a ton of gameplay, that could be an issue. It sounds like I'm down on the game, but look, I'm not. The only reason I stopped last night was because I was like, this is quite good. I might try and do this in one session. That's an interesting idea. One session. Yeah, sure. But look, it's that idea that I think I would like to do something like that. So that's a lot of stuff there. I will admit, listeners, I've had a bit of a week off for gaming, so I've been able to move through a bit more. I don't know. Have you had a big week? Have you finished anything? Well, later on we'll check the Platinum Club and see. So at this point, I suppose we could look at new releases, but I've already dumped a ton out. Other than to say we're getting a new Bibi and Tina on the horse farm. And that's lovely, because it's time. It's time for another Bibi, I think. It's a shame our German horse racing expert could not be with us at the moment. But, we will get her views on that game, because she is more qualified to talk to us about it. This Bradwell conspiracy, it's supposed to be good. I don't know. Puzzler. Again, that's more of a Mindi's thing, so we'll find out from her. In between, I believe she was going to talk about that as well. So, look, I'm just going to leave that. And then, I don't know, I see we're getting another Art Mundi game, Queen's Quest 4, which is just great. Look, I don't know, I haven't played the Queen's Quest series, so perhaps it's the same game 4 times. I don't know, perhaps not, but I'm sure it'll play the same way with the guide. So, look, there's a ton of spam. This is great, isn't it? The last 2 weeks have just been insane, listeners. I mean, if you're not earning 20 plats a week at this point, playing 5 minutes a day, then I don't know what's happening. You're obviously not interested in the spam. More power to you, I suppose. But look, isn't it wonderful to see that we don't need to rely on Japanese VNs anymore for trophies? We can play 2-minute games, spam games. Look, oh, hang on, listeners. What is this? Spirit Hunter NG. Now, this is a VN, but hang on a second. This could be a good VN. Now, you'll have heard me bang on before about the Deathmark games. There's a Japanese stack and an English stack if you don't just want to skip, if you actually want to read, on both PS4 and Vita. So look, 4 stacks of that game, But look, once is more than enough, probably twice, if you felt like it. And look, I thought the Deathmark was really, really good. We've talked before that, it's a Japanese visual novel horror-esque game or whatever. It's got your creepy doll in there as well. It's in 5 chapters, the base, the original Deathmark game. It does come with a DLC chapter, for now. I always forget whether it's PS4 or Vita, but look, I don't know. It's worth playing either way. It's quite good. Each of the chapters is sort of self-contained, but of course the overarching story. And look, it's good. It's very culturally steeped, or maybe in fringe culture in Japan or whatever else, but it deals with some pretty deep issues in there, deep sexuality issues or whatever else that, looks at, there's a scene in one of the chapters there, it's about a girl that's taken into the forest, raped, and, how it's an interesting spin because rather than look at the rape angle, it looks at how she's going to deal with the shame of it in Japanese culture to have happened to her. There's a weird phone monster in a chapter. Look, it's good. Yeah. The first chapter in particular, it's disturbing if you wish to interact with it. Yeah. And look, some great images in that game. But anyway, we've digressed. Spirit Hunter NG is the companion game. So look, I don't know what that means. Companion story. At least it's not a demake, I suppose. But, maybe it's a sequel, a prequel, or it's just somehow related to it. I don't know. But look, either way, if it's in the same style as Deathmark, then I would definitely think this will be good. And that will be on my list to actually read, not to skip. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's not a good skipping VN anyway, if that does sort of interest you. So look, that's new releases. Apparently there's a PS5 coming next year or something. Who cares? We've got to be alive then to deal with that. We'll worry about that when that happens. But look, it's got a 4K Ultra Blu-ray player in it. Whoop-de-doo, fantastic. And, welcome to the next generation, Sony, or the current one as well, I suppose. We shall see. So, look, this is tending to run on it longer than I expected. So, that's a good thing, I suppose. But what have we done? We've done what I played. We did a bit of new releases or whatever else. What did I say I was going to do? Oh, that's right. This question that came in. Now, as I said, this is a bit of a delicate topic or whatever else. It's an intriguing topic, of course, and it is a topic that I would like to touch on at some point. But look, I just want to touch on it now because I don't know if we will or not, and I'm sure you understand why. The question came in from Dino Raw Gaming, as I said, came in just the other night, and he said, blah blah blah. Hi, how are you going? Yeah, whatever. And, then he's catching up on episode 31, the retirement thing, which was, of course, the guest Olcero from the other week, and he said that possibly a subject you haven't covered is trophy addiction. And he says, it might be a sensitive subject, but if you have your guest, suffered severely, was willing to share their thoughts, I think it would be a good listen. And I was thinking about it, because we joke a lot about things on this podcast or whatever else. It's a very positive, fun thing. That's what we're trying to create. There's enough difficulty and negativity in life or whatever else. But today, as of recording here in Australia, it is World Mental Health Day here, Thursday, the 10th of October, and it's a serious topic. I mean, addiction in any form is a serious topic. We did an episode, far back in the distance with Afraid of the Folly, where we looked at mental health issues and stuff. And, it's a very personal topic. So for me to ask someone to talk about that, I think it's difficult. People will talk about it if they want to or not. And I'm not just talking about trophy addiction. I'm talking about any sort of addiction or whatever. So, I thought maybe I would just give you a little bit of my insights into me personally, because I can only talk about myself personally. And one of the things that I preach is honesty. I think it's important. One of the things I think, unfortunately, and, not in gaming, because it's not a problem in games or gaming, but sometimes in trophy hunting, there's not always honesty. And for whatever reason, it's people's feelings get hurt or people do things that I believe wouldn't happen in the real world, and they wouldn't do that. And look, I think everybody's done that. It is what it is. And the anonymity, I suppose, of the internet creates these sort of things. But it wouldn't be right of me to preach sort of honesty if I didn't sort of address this issue. And it's a confronting issue, but I think it's an issue that many of our listeners would have come across at some point or another. And part of the reason I'm happy to talk about it is that, as I said, I've been sort of more hardcore gaming the last 4 years or so. And when I started, alluded to before, I met a couple of Australians who I had assumed had been doing it a lot longer, but they'd started maybe just a little before me or whatever, but they were into it in a massive way, into VNs, short games, all sorts of, pure trophy hunting, I suppose. And they both have finished now. They both burn out and they're both both gone from it, and one, I see dabbles from time to time in it, and the other not at all. And look, they're stable, they're wonderful people, better for it, I think. But that was their decision or whatever. But totally respect that, obviously. But I suppose every now and then it makes me think, because I think gaming and trophies in particular, it's a giant hole that you can fall down. We talked about goals, we talked to hardcore trophy hunters, we talked to people that don't even care about trophies, we talked about people that don't even play on this system. So with the achievements or whatever else, and it's different for everyone. But as I said, I can only talk to my position. So if you indulge me, listeners, I will a little today, just so it gives you some insight, and maybe you see some similarities, or maybe you're like, wow, he's just completely fucking crazy. And I've been told that. So look, I think it's a wonderful way to be, to digress. But the famous saying, well, it doesn't matter if I'm crazy, it's everybody else's problem. It's not going to worry me. So look, that aside though, we'll have a look at it. Yeah. And look, I'm happy to admit that I don't think I have a trophy addiction. I think I probably have a game buying addiction. And I think it's more than that. I think it's a chasing experience addiction. So I want to see the new thing, this FOMO, which I don't particularly like the term, but it's what in effect it is. It's I want to see, I want to be exposed to things or whatever else. And my 5-second concentration span, it lends itself to this style of gaming, because you're constantly moving forward or whatever else. So I think that's an issue. I don't think that's an issue that many hardcore trophy hunters have. In fact, I think on the opposite side, most of the trophy hunters I've met are very savvy when it comes to buying games. They buy on sales. They they scout out the good deals. They only buy what they're going to play at the time, and do their research. So I don't think that's a common problem. I think there's definitely people that do that. More power to us or whatever else. And obviously, if you're doing that, I hope you're in a position that you can afford to do that. And I assume you are. I don't think it's exactly the same as maybe gambling, where it gets out of control. I think, because I don't know. Well, I don't know. Maybe it is. You're buying a product, though. I suppose you're getting something in return. So it's not exactly the same. But look, it is what it is, I suppose, on that front. But you're asking more to trophy addiction, not game buying addiction, which would probably be a fun topic to have. I don't know. Who would we get? Maybe Ike. That would the man who's played the most games. he might be the guest for that topic. I don't know, but or somebody else. There's probably someone out there. But trophy addiction. So look, I don't know. Like, it's a funny one. So gaming has been listed, on the mental health, the fancy mental health thing that I forget the word for now, as an addiction. So it definitely is. But gaming as an addiction, not trophies as an addiction. But look, that's only because they probably don't know about trophies or whatever else. That's the only reason. Are they addictive? Yeah. Well, look, of course they're addictive. Yeah. One of the things that amuses me is when you talk to like sort of more serious trophy hunters or whatever, and they won't use that word, or they'll walk around it, and they obviously are not comfortable with it, yet that's what it is. And one thing I find refreshing is, like, you talk to whoever plays tons, and they're like, oh, it's an addiction or whatever else, and you're like, well, so that's honest. But not all addictions are bad either. I mean, if it's stopping you from doing something else, if you drink too much, or if you, I don't know, you smoke, you're doing your drugs, whatever else, if you're doing less of that because of gaming, then I suppose, there are positive of sides to it. So look, who knows? But as far as the trophies go, so I suppose, isn't it addiction if you buy games solely for the purpose of trophies? Well, yes. I mean, it is. Yeah. The grey area for me, I think, comes in that I do like a lot of different games. So some of the shorter games I'll play, I will find enjoyment. I mean, I'm playing this Super Box D-Make now. It's not a great game. Nobody. I can't convince anyone. I can't bullshit anyone that's going to be Game of the Year. But it's not dreadful either. And look, I understand that it's short. I think with these sort of games, I just like to put them in randomly. So I played, I think, maybe half the game in 20 minutes or something last night, and I'll probably play the second half at some point. And of course, I'm playing it for the trophies. I wouldn't buy it if it didn't have trophies, I suppose. Look, I definitely, probably definitely wouldn't. But it's not dreadful. But look, on the flip side, have I played dreadful games? Yeah, of course. But I think I don't want to say there are less dreadful games coming out. I think the shorter games that are coming out, at least they have some element that's enjoyable in them. That doesn't sound good, does it? But it's not mean, if you play these games, I think you'd agree with me. They're not monotonous. See, like, monotonous to me would be skipping, a 6 hour, 8 hour VN with a 30 or 40 page, text guide. Like, that's monotonous. Like, you can't convince me. I don't care who you are. You're not going to convince me that's enjoyable, And I know the arguments. Oh, I get to watch Netflix. I get to do all this. Look, I've used them all myself. But at the end of the day, that's absurd. It's fucking absurd. That's addictive personality. But look, I've done that as well. Maybe not that longer VNs, but longer VNs as well. But look, again, no judgment. It's just the addiction from my perspective, and I'm talking about myself here. So then, okay, so you're doing these short games. Well, if you do them once, that's okay. But what happens when you do them like 6 times? You got your Hong Kong going, you got your, your EU going, you got your NA going. Look, the Japanese is coming up soon. Thanks, Rat, for discovering that. So you got your 8 stacks or whatever of these going. Is that an addiction? Well, yes. I mean, you're not going to get anyone that argues playing the same game 8 times is totally sane behavior. But can I throw a positive to that? And maybe this is my addicted brain talking, I don't know, but I think I can. I think what I enjoy about that is either I enjoyed the base, game or whatever anyway, so I'm happy to do it. I enjoy the loop or whatever, and it's short, or it's because I know how it works. And I'm not trying to set the fastest time or anything. That doesn't interest me, but I know what to do. And I don't know about your life, listeners. My life is fine. I have no problems with it. I quite enjoy it, to be honest with you. But in my life, and I think it's everybody's life. I don't know what's always going to be happening in my line of work. Things fluctuate or whatever, and people fluctuate, life fluctuates. So there are a lot of variables. If you sit back and think about it, anything can happen. I'm sort of lucky, I suppose. I'm in the position where I can walk outside, and if I don't want to do this anymore, I'll go do something else. I'm not starting out in what I do. So I suppose that gives me that sense of flux and freedom to a degree. But, it's also, I don't know, it's like I've read before, as you get older, you like to have security, you like routine, you like these things. And I think playing the same game again is routine. It's security. It's a sense of control. Perhaps, none of us have in our actual lives. It doesn't matter how set up financially or educationally or, socially you are. Everything is random. Nobody really controls anything. So anything can happen. But in these experiences, you control it. And even if it's 20 minutes where you can turn off your brain and just have fun, it's something there's no surprises, then there. And as I said, maybe I'm justifying it, but I'm just explaining my position, that why I stack 8 times. Now, again, of course, for the trophies, I don't know that I would need to I definitely wouldn't buy the game 8 times for that experience, or whatever else. So the trophies are obviously there, but for me, there's a positive side to it. I suppose it gives me the control. It gives me the chance to switch off or whatever else. And I know there are lots of other things you can do as well, but it's just, it's like the brain can disengage. And look, to be honest, sometimes you can do some really deep thinking when you're doing these things as well. You can listen to a podcast, some random guy just crapping on about these sort of things if you want. But so that's stacking, it falls into both categories, I suppose. So what else is an addiction? So I suppose the biggest part is, do you play games for trophies time that you could be playing other games that you want to play? Well, you want to play everything, I suppose, but longer games or whatever you're doing. And I mean, well, again, yes, that's an addiction. Do one of the things that I found amazing when I started out is people had quotas. Like, I want to earn so many trophies a day or a week. And I still see that, and the number varies. And like, good on you, more power to you. But I think the longer you do it and the more trophies you get, like, I don't know, we keep hearing about how trophies are being devalued by short games, by people that spam VNs for the last 5 or 6 years and suddenly have a problem with it. But if you put that issue to the side, maybe the trophies are devalued just because you have so many of them. It's got nothing to do with the, what you're playing. It's just, it doesn't matter anymore. I think deep down, even it doesn't matter how focused you are on it. Over time, it's got to come back to the games. You've got to be enjoying the games. Otherwise, why would you put yourself through that? I don't know. Look, I don't know. Everybody's different, but yeah, it's got to be enjoyable. Surely it's an enjoyable hobby. I'm having fun. Are you having fun, listeners, playing? I think so. So again, for me personally, I think the thing is that I enjoy all types of games in moderation, I suppose. So I'll play some longer games. I'll play some shorter games. I don't have a lot of tolerance for things that I don't like. another sign of getting older. So part of the reason why I'll dump games, I'll give them a go. But if I don't like the system, then I'll move on. I know that I don't like it from playing so many other things in the past. I'm not going to grind my teeth on something for a trophy that I don't like. So maybe that's less addictive. I don't know. But I'm going to play whatever I want. I think more of the problem is the time than anything. So I mean, there's that, and then maybe the hardest thing then, or the deepest thing is, and this is the thing that I struggle with, I suppose, the most. So I suppose this is the addictive part that concerns me, and I need to keep a handle on in myself, is that the more time you spend playing, the less time you spend doing other things. So whether that's it, building your business, building your family, building your social life, or maintaining things. So you have to, that's a trade-off. And I know, like, I listen to, we've all listened to Colin Moriarty. I listen to other people that are very closed, insular people. And again, no problem with that. And in a way, I think gaming works perfectly because it sucks up so much time. So if you're one of those people that really likes your own company, and look, more power to you, I understand that, then gaming is awesome because you can, through escapism, you can spend all this time. But if you're trying to maintain a healthy life and, exercise and family and money and all these other things, I think that is the most dangerous form of the addiction, because it does take a lot of time. Like, don't let anyone tell you that they're only playing a couple of hours a day and earning thousands of trophies a month. That's bullshit. Even if they're playing the 5-minute games, it's still bullshit, however you want to see it or whatever. And so it's a trade-off, like everything in life is. You have to make trade-offs. I think one of the things I've noticed in myself in the last few years is that I read less now because I game more. But now I've started to read VNs, which, why not? After 3 years, it's probably the right time to start. So I suppose that's reading in a way. But see, I tend to watch less TV shows now than I probably did 10 years ago, which is a shame because there's so many good ones, I suppose. But I still watch some, I suppose, But whatever. But I suppose I only have so much time for entertainment. So I've now shifted it more into this circle. Again, I think I'm lucky in what I do. There is a lot of free time. You're busy sometimes, you're not other times. And I think also as you get older, I think socially life is a lot easier because you've had friends for a long time. So you don't need to find out what they're doing every day, sort of thing, like maybe you do in your late teens and 20s and be the center of everything. You're at the point where you're quite happy to be on the outside and the fringe for, and everybody's like that, dealing with their kids or their family or whatever else. So I think it's easier. I think, look, and I mean, this is a serious thing. As you get older, maybe your reflexes go, but the great thing is you need less sleep. Like, you can't sleep as you get older. It's fantastic. So you also have this time at night way more than you had before. And I imagine now, if you have kids, you're sitting there going, yeah, that's totally deluded. But look, if you don't have kids, if you've chosen with your partner to live the life selfish, I suppose, as they would see it, then you definitely don't need more sleep. So look, these things all weigh in. So do I think it's an addiction? Well, an addiction at its core is something that you can't stop doing. You have to do. So for me personally, I don't think it's something that I have to do. I think it's something that I like to do. So I suppose now I have to look at, well, what would happen if there are no trophies? Are the trophies the addictive part? Would I even game if there are no trophies? And I think, for me, I think yes. I play on the Switch. I play on the Xbox, not as much, but I do. So I think I would game. I think maybe 2 years ago it was more about the trophies, but I think now I've moved to the point where it's much more about the gaming. So look, I don't know. I'm trying to be an open, as honest as I can. I think, I'm more than happy to admit how, like, I game a lot. I spend a huge amount of money on this. It's hugely passionate. We wouldn't have started a podcast if it wasn't a huge passion or whatever. I like to read about it, I like to be immersed in it. I like to discover what's happening. So there's definitely an addiction in all that side of things as well. I try to make it as a positive an addiction as I can. And I think that's really important. I think when I go on social media, on Twitter, which is, I still don't understand, it's just so many people that are unhappy. Seems to be. And look, I think there's a mix of attention seeking there and whatever else, but I genuinely believe that there's a lot of people that are unhappy, and it's such a shame because, look, I'm almost 40, so I don't know what it's like being 20 today. I think life is very difficult. I mean, the economies around the world are pretty much fucked. It's geared towards people 20 years older than me, but it's not too bad for me by any stretch. So I understand all those pressures, socially. I don't know. I think maybe everyone is too connected now. Maybe having these things to tell people how you feel all the time isn't maybe causing problems. I don't know. You younger people would know much better than me. This old man talking. But Yeah, I think, I see this sort of stuff and it drains me. I'm a positive person and I think it saps it out of you. And I don't know. Do you find that, listeners, or is that just eccentricity? Am I just, I don't know. It just, and see, I feel as a positive person, if it's draining from me, how can it be for people that are not positive seeing this sort of stuff, And then you're like, oh, I just don't want to engage anymore. So I'll go and game because it's escapism. And then I don't want to do anything anymore because blah, blah, blah. And, like there's definitely elements of that. Who wouldn't want to game all day? That's fantastic. But, I always think like, even if you had all day, and often I do have all day, I don't game that much in those days. In fact, probably the times I have all day, I game the least, do other things. So, I don't know. But thanks for the question, Dinah Raw. I mean, it's an addiction. I agree. I think the thing is whether you can turn it into a positive or a negative addiction, and whether your life can handle that addiction. I think that's the trick. And for me, in my state, I can. As I've said before, I'm really glad I didn't get into this path in my early 20s, because I think when you don't have the money, you have the time, perhaps, but that's the time you should be investing in yourself, because if you don't, well, good luck in your 30s, when you've got to be killing yourself working to set up the rest of your life. So I'm really glad, but look, ultimate respect, I look at a lot of young people in their like mid-20s, and they're so organized. They're doing their own businesses, they're working, they're doing this, they're doing that. So they're more able perhaps than when I was that age. More power to them. But I think that's a really big concern, and that would have been my biggest fear, I suppose, at that age. But now, and I mean, like, I talk as I'm an old man, I still hopefully have some good years left, but so I suppose in a way I need to be careful that I don't waste them, and set up whatever I want to do next. I don't know. It's a lot of things to think about. I suppose it's become quite deep for a trophy podcast, but I thought it wouldn't be fair for the listeners if I, sugarcoat everything. That's just how it is, Yes, I've played VMs and skipped them. Yes, I buy games for trophies. Yes, I've played garbage, well, what other people would consider garbage, and look, some of the stuff I would consider garbage, as well. Yes, I've played games for trophies when I would have rather potentially played something else. Yes, I don't know. Yes, yes, yes. But as I said, it's positive addiction. I think it's helped me a lot in certain avenues. It's given me the chance to meet people from around the world in different situations to myself, and to learn. I've learned a lot, about gaming and gamers and how games are made, developers. I've even learned what Twitter is. So learning a lot as well. So I think it's a really tough personal topic. All I can suggest is that if you feel it is becoming an addiction that is not positive to you, is to reach out to somebody. And I know I've banged on about this before, and this is a very personal decision, but I've seen a therapist on and off for the last 15 years, not for trophies, just for general life, really. And it's given me skills, I think, to look at myself and reflect on where I am and what I'm hoping to achieve and what I am doing, the reality of what I'm doing, not the perceived what I think I'm doing. And I know it can be expensive, and I know it can be intimidating, but I would definitely recommend it, because the problem with friends getting advice from, or even strangers, is that people tend to sugarcoat things, or ultimately they tell you what you want to hear, or you just don't hear what they're really saying. When you go to somebody that you're just sitting there, it might take a few times, but eventually, the penny drops that this must be, this is a professional. This is obviously what things are. So if you're not in a position that you can afford that, or that's not an option you feel you need, then just maybe make it positive if you can in any way. I don't know. Gaming's great for memorization. It's great for motor skill. Play a game in another language. Force yourself to learn it. I don't know. There's tons of positive potential addiction elements in there. So, didn't mean to bang on, Dino Raw, but that's my position. I'm very happy to have any guest on that wants to talk about that topic. I know it's incredibly open and brutal, and I don't expect anyone else to talk about that topic. It's just if they so wish. So hopefully that came across, and I know it's not what you intended, but it's something, I suppose, to give to you. So, look, we've gone on. It's an hour. You've had enough. I think we've all had enough. It was remiss of me. I didn't mention at the start of the episode, but we actually have coming out today, or probably in the next day or so of listening to this, is the Man of Medan spoiler cast we did with the PG spoiler crew. Resident Daryl and Basehead Hex with the Mindisacity with Mindi as well. And basically, it's quite long. The first 40 minutes or so, we just talk about the game and, our general views and stuff. And then the second half or so, the last sort of whatever hour or something, we just talk about, more spoilers, more specifics for the game or something. Just as, a little preface, we're all very positive about the game. If you haven't played the game, I'd suggest you could listen to the beginning if it does interest you. But I wouldn't listen to the second half. If you don't care, then you're bored and you've really got nothing else to do, then by all means go ahead. It's a little bit more of a looser show than our show. The language, I think, is fine, I'm pretty sure, from memory. The jokes maybe a little bit more on the cusp, maybe a little more of an after dark type thing, if you like. But look, we really enjoy working with them, and it was a great privilege to be asked to go on there. So, look, I think I've done everything. Oh, spam. Why? Isn't it amusing? All these topics that do not in any way lend themselves to a spam of the week topic. Trophy addiction, and now I'm going to talk about trophies and how to get you more addicted. Well, look, it is what it is. We can all fight our own battles. So, what do we got this week? One Night Stand. So a VNS, a short spam game plat, definitely 3 stacks, NA, EU, and AS. All are out at this time. All can be done under an hour. There are some fantastic video walkthroughs, some text walkthroughs as well. It's one of those games where it has like multiple loops or whatever in the story. Some of them are better than others. Is it worth reading? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I didn't think it was amazing, but look, it is fine. It is what it is. Just play it once or twice, and then maybe a guide to clean up anything you miss. It's very straightforward. A Winter's Daydream. So this is apparently a VN that you can skip in 9 minutes. There are no choices in this, so look at that. It's fantastic. What's even better about this is I believe it's only like $5 or $6 as well. So they obviously didn't realize they could have charged 50 or 60 and people would have still bought it. But anyway, maybe they'll catch on to that next time. Multiple stacks. This one is on the Vita as well. So what have we got? EU and NA at the moment. AS to come. Now, our friends, or I shouldn't say our friends, my friends over at Knopf's Trophy Guides assured me that I should read this, not skip it. And because, as I said, I'm reading some VNs here and there. And so I started reading it, and look, I don't know. It's okay. Look, I understand it's only 2.5 hours to read, so I'll read it. But it's no death mark. I can assure you of that. It seems like it's a family, it's a relationship. Your sister's a prick. Well, you're allowed to say that. I don't know. I just did. The sister's whatever. The family. You go see your grandmother. You're a boy. You're at university in Tokyo. Look, that's all that's happened. Maybe there's going to be a massive twist. I don't know. It's an English VN, so. But perhaps not. We shall see. But look, that's there as well. Obviously, we talked about this Super Box Land demake. It's another demake, the second demake. And what are we going to have? There'll be tons of stacks, EU and NA with PS4 and Vita at the moment. And I think it's a puzzler. Yeah, and look, as I said, I didn't need a guide for the first section, but I did notice the last two getting tougher. So probably in the second section, I may need a guide. Tons of different video guides. I think the trophies for that very straightforward. Just switch a character. And then I'm pretty sure everything else is natural, but check your guide or whatever. There's nothing missable. It's all in levels. So that's there. Color Slayer. Oh, gosh. If you're going to do that, make sure you own a turbo controller, because the grind in that game is the distance. What a nightmare. Don't do it on Vita unless you have a PS TV. Don't do it on Vita at all, perhaps. I'm definitely not going to. So yeah, I don't know. That's like spam in a minute. That's quite a lot. There's probably more, but I'm getting too distracted with the other games at the moment. So, that's enough. I think that's enough spam, isn't it? It's like I have a list at the moment, listeners. See, we're going off on a tangent completely. I don't tend to do trophy events anymore because I don't know, who cares? It doesn't lend itself to the way that I play sporadically, I think. So, but anyway, I decided to do this True Trophies event because I quite like their site. Their stats are really cool or whatever else, and stats. We should have probably talked about stats and addiction. Maybe I'm more addicted to the trophy stats than actually the trophies these days. I don't know, but they are fun. I mean, maybe there's some other sick people out there that enjoy the stats part of it as well, but maybe not. Maybe that's a new subset of addiction I'm starting up. Come join me. Trophy Stats podcast. That would be fascinating. My accountant might come to that. Folly, you might be interested in that. Sounds like it's something an accountant would like. But, look, it is Trophy Stat podcast. Wow. This is definitely a possibility there. But look, anyway, we'll shelve that for next week. So anyway, where were we? True Trophies. Yeah, they're running this competition. It's pretty cool. Their tracking software is cool. I know we've talked about comps before with Slammer on PlayStation trophies, and they sound amazing. Like, there's a lot going on there. They put tons of work into them. I think their ideas are awesome. True Trophies is a bit more straightforward. Like, there's no craziness or whatever. This time around, it's just earn the trophies and whatever. I think it's based on TT score, but which is their system. I'm not sure how that works, but it's basically the same. But it rewards harder plats, I think. But at the end of the day, a spammy hunter is always going to run down an ultra rare hunter in these sort of things, because they don't give the ultra rares enough points. Give them 10,000, it wouldn't matter. A spammy would still catch you, in 5 minutes. It's just the nature of the spammy hunter, I think. But that aside or whatever, it's quite fun. And there's a single event and a teams event, and it's like they've been knocking people out each week, but I think maybe the formula was a bit out, so now they're just knocking out tons of people because they needed to finish, which I always enjoy. It's like, bad luck, you've been here for 10 weeks, earning your 1 plat a week, and now you're going to get brutalized because we're just going to drop everybody except the top 10. But that's it's just, it's the first time they've done it, I think, so that's totally cool. It's really enjoyable because their board updates fairly often, so you can see where you're at or whatever. And then you can do the team with someone or if you're in my case where you've had enough of playing with other people, you can just post and say, look, if anyone wants to play. And some guy did, which is really nice, because we've messaged back a bit, and he's really cool, and we both just do our own thing, and it's fun. So yeah, I don't know what the point of this was, but look, I'm enjoying it. We're down to the second last week, and I see it's getting competitive. Not so much on the individual side, although I have a feeling a lot of people are saving up the short plats. Look, I am. I know where we're getting at. So yeah, I made a list, at the start of the week, because I haven't been keeping up on the short games, and I think in the last 2 weeks my list is now at 18 plats that are all 30 to 40 minutes maximum, or whatever. Which is look, it'll be great for that final week. And look, I think we're going to need it, because I noticed on the team side that there's one team that's just like ridiculous, like thousands of points ahead every week. And, because there's so many names I didn't know who it was. And I'm like, oh, who the hell could that be? Because you tend to know the people that are going berserk, and clicked on it. Of course, it was old friend of the show, Unknown. So look, that's not a surprise. I mean, the king of spam himself these days. So yeah. So look, I'm sure he's going to, what amazes me, listeners, is how he still has games left. But then what scares me is that I must have done them all. So, but anyway, look, there's so many coming out. It'll be interesting. I'm sure we're going to get smashed along the way, but it is fun. And, look, I'd recommend that site. I have no affiliation with them, but, their stats are fun. So, like, I don't know. We deviated too far that time, I think. Probably like, what the hell is going on here? But it is what it is. So, look, we're going to wrap up here, I think. I think it's a good effort. I'm tired of my own voice. This was done in one take. That's insane. You can tell that I'm used to lecturing, can't you? I can just bullshit on forever. It's crazy. Anyway, but, look, hopefully somewhere in the hour of this garbage, there was something that interested you this week. And if not, you can let me know. I probably won't respond, or, look, I might. We'll see. You could try. But, look, before we close out the show, it's good. We save time, because I don't need to ask anybody, do they want to promote themselves, because there's nobody here. So we'll just go straight to the Push to Platinum Club. Bloody mouthful that is. I tell you what, you wouldn't want to have too many drinks before you say that. But anyway, look, it's early in the morning, so the bar is not open here yet. Addictions, huh? So let's have a look. What do we got here? Zador VP, number 434, LA Noir VR case files. And that's great. Yeah, we talked about that before. That's good. If I didn't get sick in VR all the time, I would be on top of that. But that does look interesting. So congratulations, Mr. Zeta. 525 Queen's Quest 4 from the wonderful themindisacity. Might be the first plat owner. Of course, she's the first plat owner and the guide writer as well. So congratulations there, Mindi. And then Star Crunch 100. Now, this is a game I bet none of you ever thought I would talk about. I didn't even know what it was till I looked it up. This is the first plat for Star Crunch 100, and it is Super Meat Boy. So I've only got the stat here for the PSN stat, and it's ultra rare 0.1%. I know this is an incredibly difficult game, so I don't know what it is on the other site system, but I know it's very low. So congratulations, so that is fantastic. And straight away, I now know you are a skilled gamer. So I'd like to apologize for the 32 episodes you may or may not have listened to, or if you've only listened to one, I apologize for that, because you would have rapidly learnt that I am not a skilled gamer. But, it is what it is, isn't it? What can we do? But look, congratulations on that one. That is that is a fantastic plat. And look, if we ever manage to convince you to play some spam, then we're your experts. But I'm not sure I can tell you much about that Super Meat Boy, but fantastic. Then we've got Daryl 3 Spooky 5U. He's finished up plat 32 and 33 for Far Cry 3 and Uncharted. Both fantastic games on the PS3 as well. So, it's Uncharted 2. Sorry, not 3. He's maybe doing that, or maybe he's done it. I don't know. Congratulations, that is fantastic. And then I'm looking through. That is all that we have today that was posted. So it feels like a natural conclusion to this episode. As I said, if for some reason you want more of us, the Man of Medan spoilercast will be dropping around the same time as this one. Give it a go, or as I said, don't give it a go. If you do give it a go and you enjoy it, you can find Resident Daryl and Basehead Hex on PG Spoilers, the flagship Proven Gamer, the flagship podcast of the Proven Gamer Network. They're of course available on all good places, just like ourselves: iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. I believe they're on. You know the gist, listeners. Give them a like, give them a hello, whatever. They also have a Facebook group if you wish to reach out to them. Of course, you can always find Mindi in all the usual places if you'd like to reach out to her and say hi. We will be all back next week, internet pending. But no, I'm sure we'll all be back, and we will have our special guest as well, which I'm looking forward to bringing to you. So apologize for the shorter episode. If you made it this far, congratulations. It's an achievement. It really is. It's been a lot of fun today, listeners. I hope you have a fantastic week. Enjoy some of these amazing games that are coming out. And we'll see you next week. Be good, be honest, be well. See ya.